So ever since the video came out where I very first talked about my new Shadow riding gear, I've had a lot of people asking for reviews on these products. And the truth behind why I haven't actually put out a review on these yet is because I just wanted to ride them long enough and fall enough times and get enough shinners to feel that I could give an adequate assessment of this riding gear. I wanted to be confident in my review so that I didn't make a video a week after I wore them for the first time, then wear them 2 months later, have that video come out and have my opinion change so that the video is different than my actual opinion. I want to have integrity behind the reviews that I do and make sure that I give adequate assessments so that you can make informed purchasing decisions based on my actual feelings and not just how I feel after riding in something or having a part on my bike for a week, because that is not enough time to test something like this. So at this point, it's been a couple months that I've been wearing these and I feel confident enough to give you guys that adequate assessment. But before we get into my actual review and thoughts on these things, I want to give the people who didn't see the first video or aren't informed on these products a little bit of background information first. So let's start with the Shadow Conspiracy Super Slim V2 knee pads. And forgive me, I'm going to be reading here, but I want to give you the most accurate information possible directly from them. So features include on these a strategically placed EVA whip pad to protect the inner knee area, an elasticized cuff with silicone print to prevent slippage and keep the pads securely positioned. Then this next one is pretty interesting. It says Motorsport Level 1 Safety Rating EN 1621-1:2012. And what that actually means, and I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can read more about it if you want to, is that these things have a level of certification on them that is Level 1 Motorsport Protection. And what that means in the numbers is that the maximum transmitted force must be below 18 kilonewtons and no single value shall exceed 24 kilonewtons. And like I said, the link with that information is in the description down below, where there's a lot more information about that safety rating. They define what that number actually means and a whole bunch more if you want to read about that. But to me, what this means is that there's a certain level of legitimacy with these pads because they had to go through certification and measurements. And while I don't know Shadow's motives for doing it, what I do know is that it also said on that website that there's certain like tracks for like riding motorcycles and things that require a certain level of certification for the padding that you're wearing, whether it's the pads that you're wearing being certified or that you are wearing them in the first place. But the fact that they have that certain level of certification could completely open up a new market for Shadow outside of BMX and people looking to buy knee protection. I know that a lot of you probably don't care about that, but I just think it's interesting that they have this certification, and I think it'd be pretty cool to be at a motorcycle track and see someone bust out some Shadow Conspiracy knee pads to wear while riding their motorcycle. Moving on from there, we got some more information about them. They have a neoprene and airprene main construction. There's a soft and comfortable synthetic liner, as well as a breathable mesh capsule at the back of the knee, which you can see here, and a heavy-duty elastic hook and loop closure. That's the Velcro that we've got right here. So those are the Super Slim V2 knee pads from Shadow. Then we've got the Shadow Conspiracy Shinners Shin Guards, and the information about these are as follows. They're sold in pairs. It's neoprene and airprene construction, just like the knee pads. There's a high-density EVA foam in here. They have an articulated and removable impact-resistant ABS guard. That's the plastic inside here. And the B-roll I'm showing shows you that. They have the heavy-duty hook and loop closures as well. That's the Velcro. And they come in sizes small, medium, and large, extra large. So that's the information about these things. Now let's get to the part that you guys really care about, the review stuff with these. So as you can see here, maybe you can see it, I hope you can, there's a lot of marks on these shin pads from my pedals. And some of you guys know that I ride some gnarly pedals. They're plastic pedals with metal pins that are basically metal pins of death, and that would be death to my shins if I wasn't wearing shin guards. So the biggest thing that I absolutely love about these things is the fact that that plastic piece in there is articulated, and I'll pull it out here to show you what I'm talking about. The plastic in here isn't just flat, and it's got this angle to it that is so round here, and you can see that harshness of that curvature, that it literally keeps the plastic and protection above your shin. There's like a gap between the shin guard and your shin, which means that it would take a serious accident for your pedal to hit your shin hard enough to hurt through these shin guards. And there's also the fact that you can take this out and ride it with just the padding right here. The next thing that I absolutely love about these things over any shin guards I've ever worn is the way that the Velcro system works. So let's undo this Velcro here. There's 4 straps, and then you can see here that there's one long strip here for you to put these straps on. So if you want to customize the way that you actually strap these things, you can do that. And if you need to contour them differently using the straps when you put them on, you can do that. My old shin guards had specific Velcro here, piece for it right in the same spot. So you couldn't really change the positioning of where you actually Velcroed it. And I think this is huge for these shin guards because it just adds to the level of comfort. The fact that there's 4 of them also adds to the strength here. I'm not worried about ripping this thing for probably years now. I've ridden in these, and honestly, I felt even after the first couple sessions that I was confident enough in these things to give a review on them. And to be totally honest with you, I have 0 cons for these shin guards, other than maybe the fact that you sweat a lot, but you're gonna sweat a lot wearing any type of padding, and you're gonna be riding BMX, so do you really care about sweating? There's also the fact that they're pretty long. These are a lot longer than my old shin guards, which means they protect you more, and they go all the way from underneath my knee pads to above my ankle braces. So it's all protected in there, and I have not had a single shin impact with my pedal yet wearing these things that I actually felt. And that's something that I didn't realize till just now in making this, because if you don't feel it, you don't really realize it, you know? If you hit it hard enough to feel it, you would remember it and realize it. And it's one of those situations that it just becomes a non-issue and you don't think about it anymore. So when it comes to these Shadow Conspiracy Shinners Shin Guards, I recommend them wholeheartedly. They're only $37 for the pair, and they are so worth it. I think padding is worth it in general when riding because I don't like to be taken away from riding. There's certain people out there who are like, oh, people are pussies for wearing pads. No, we get to ride longer because we don't have to sew our shin back up and have to be out of riding for however long it takes to heal to whatever level you're comfortable riding with it. I don't like dealing with that, and I don't like dealing with things that keep me from riding my bike. I want to ride it as much as I possibly can, as long as I possibly can, and if shin guards and knee pads and ankle braces and a helmet are going to help me do that, I'm gonna wear them. So that being said, that's my thoughts on these Shadow Shinners Shin Guards. 1000% worth it. Don't buy super cheap shin guards and then destroy them and then have to spend the money to get good ones after the fact. Just get the good ones from the start and you won't regret it for sure. So moving on from there, let's talk about the knee pads. These are the ones that I wanted to test out and ride in a bunch and fall enough times on my knees to give that adequate assessment, because the pads I was wearing before this were Shadow Conspiracy pads as well, but they were like 15 years old or something crazy. They're the tan ones with the black on them and the Velcro on both sides. They're way too big for me, but they had a plastic piece just like the shin guards on the inside. And I was a little nervous about not having that plastic piece in there and falling on my knees, because it's just what I've always had, what I've always known, and I've never really had problems falling on my knees because of it. So I gave these things a shot, and I feel I've fallen enough times at this point and hit my knees enough to give that confident review on them. So first of all, what I love about these knee pads is the fact that they have this elastic piece at the top, and I'm sure I'm showing it in B-roll right now. And this thing, they just don't slide down my knees. My old knee pads were too big for me, and I couldn't get the Velcro tight enough because they were too big and too old. So I was constantly having to pull my knee pads back up, pull my shin guards back up, because the shin guards were short, which meant they fall down, and my knee pads would go down too, and they wouldn't be over my knees. And it was just all bad. Now that I have these things, I haven't had to pull my knee pads up one time. And I think that has to do with the right size, and they have this rubberized piece in here that keeps them on your leg. It can pull on your leg hair when you're putting them on, but I think that's a small price to pay to have comfort in wearing your knee pads and not having to pull them up the entire session. You can also see that I have a lot more of this Velcro left that I could tighten these things as this elastic strap starts to stretch over time, as it naturally will. So moving on from there, they've got that guard that I mentioned previously for the inner knee. This thing is actually pretty nice as well, because if you do bar spins, or you do like tire tap bar spins like I like to do, or you do anything where you pinch your seat, this is like exactly where you're pinching your seat at. Unless your seat's super high or super low and you don't even get close to your knees with it anyways, if you pinch, this is right in the sweet spot, and it's a protecting factor that I did not have with my old knee pads. And there were sessions where I would be trying something with a mid tire tap bar spin where you have to pinch the seat with your knees, and it literally rubbed my knee so raw that it was uncomfortable to ride for like weeks before I had these. But now you don't have that issue, because there's this thick padding that comes in contact with the seat on both sides. Both knee pads have it, and it's perfectly placed. And then moving to the back here, they've got that breathable mesh that I mentioned before. This isn't something that I've really noticed yet. I do sweat a lot no matter what, so I feel like it probably is doing something, but it's just not the kind of thing I feel I could notice while riding my bike. But that being said, riding and falling on these knee pads, falling on my knee, the padding is so thick that it doesn't really affect you too much. You might feel something, but you don't nearly feel it as much as just having something as thin as like this without the plastic in it, or just having their Invisalign pads. This is pretty thick here. I'd say that's a good, it's more than a ½ inch of padding. And the padding goes from the very top here all the way to the very bottom here. So as you can imagine, that's going to overlap your shin guard like this much, and you're going to have double protection up there. And the fact that these two together are long enough to go from the top of my ankle to my knee means that there's no movement there. That's helping keeping these on your knee and on your shin where they need to be without you having to fuss with it. It's very clear that Shadow put time and energy into developing these things the right way. I mean, they've been making knee pads and shin guards for how many years now? And these just came out. The Shinners have been out for a little while yet. I think these are like an updated version, because I was Googling and found old pictures of a different looking shin guard that was still pretty similar. Either way though, these are $56 for the pair. And while I do think it is understandable that some people might not be able to afford a $56 pair of knee pads, I feel like it's just like anything else in BMX, whether it's forks, hubs, rims, anything. If you buy the cheap version first, you're gonna end up paying twice for these things. The slogan for Shadow's riding gear is extend the ride. And that is exactly what they're doing with these, and trying to do it in a cool way so that people want to wear this padding. And that is exactly what I talked about with Ronnie Bonner when I met him at Sparky's and he gave me these pads. So I have to say thank you, and I gotta give full disclosure. They did give me these pads, but that is in no way biasing my review. I'm giving you my wholehearted, honest thoughts, and I would not recommend something that I didn't truly believe in. And with that, I'm sure that there's other good options out there for knee pads that are just as good as these, and other shin guards out there that are just as good as these. But this is my experience with the Shadow Conspiracy Super Slim V2 knee pads and Shinners Shin Guards. It's better than what I had, and it's comfortable, and I feel protected with them, and I feel confident enough to recommend you to buy them, because I think you will too. That being said, thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this. And if you're new here or you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button down below, or you're leaving a comment about what type of padding you wear, if any. And for all of you diehard no pads wearers, let me know why. And also let me know if you're considering picking up a pair of either of these. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope that I'll see you tomorrow for another video.